Hello and welcome to Your Broken Galaxy. I am Broken, and today I am doing a tier list of the 14 Star Wars movies. If you've never seen my channel, I usually do funny videos like what if Padme was ugly, what if Luke was fat, and what if Chewie was 4 Ewoks in a Wookiee suit. If you want to laugh at Star Wars, then please take a look around my video selection. I'd be very grateful for that. Let's go ahead and get into the video, though. If I happen to somehow miss a movie, I'd be grateful if you let me know. We are going to start with Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And I would say that The Phantom Menace is going to be a C tier movie. And I think that the reason why I would give this a C tier is because it was it was Jar Jar. The reason this is a C is because of Jar Jar. If it didn't have a C, boom, A tier. But I'm going to give it a C because of Jar Jar. I didn't like him all that much. But the ending battle where it was the Jedi fighting Darth Maul, that was great. The space fight was, it was okay. Having a little kid be immediately amazing was a little bit something that I'm not terribly fond of. And then the Battle of the Gungans was a little bit ridiculous. It was nice to be able to see a lot of them pass away. No, I shouldn't do that. Jar Jar is not a representative of his entire species, but I'm giving it a C tier. Moving along. Oh, if you disagree with any of these, please let me know in the comments. My opinion is not right. It's just my opinion on almost all these movies. One of them I'm going to claim a pretty strong opinion of. Two of them I'm going to claim a pretty strong accurate opinion of. Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. I kind of want to put this in B tier just because of, again, the final action sequence, but I don't think I can. I think I have to leave it down in C tier because of the romance. I will say, though, that this movie has provided a lot of fuel for my videos. It's got so many ridiculous plot points and such, and the idea that Anakin is just the creepiest, most awkward stalker guy that still somehow manages to get Padme by the end of this movie is baffling to me. I'm sure that led a lot of socially challenged individuals in a very wrong direction regarding how they should approach people. But, Anakin's freaking hot, so I guess Padme just couldn't see past his looks. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I'm going to go ahead and put Revenge of the Sith as an A tier. And I know most of my audience is going to disagree. I know how old you guys are. Probably like 80% of you or more think that it should be an S tier movie. It was far superior to Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, but I don't think it's quite S tier material. A great opening action sequence, especially after the 2D Clone Wars cartoons, because I remember watching those when they came out. They were brilliant, leading up to the capture of Palpatine, and then Episode 3 opens up, and there he is, and Grievous was in it, who was in the 2D Clone Wars, so that was really cool. But it was a very fun watch. I enjoyed it quite thoroughly, but for my money, it's just not quite S tier. At least not yet. Maybe I'll change this location later on. From there, we're going to jump forward a little bit in time and go to the Clone Wars. And the Clone Wars movie, this was released as a movie. I'm going to also put that in C tier. And this movie, where Anakin meets Ahsoka and takes her on as Padawan and then saves Jabba the Hutt's son, not super entertaining for me. By the time this came out, I was a little bit older, and I know the audience was younger like the intended audience was younger than I was, and because the intended audience was younger than I was, um, it just didn't appeal to me as much. Eventually, though, in the Clone Wars TV show, which I did watch all of that, as well as Rebels, as well as Bad Batch. Um, and honestly, I think the last episode of Bad Batch might be the last Star Wars thing I watch. I'm definitely not planning to watch Acolyte now, that's for sure. But this show led to something, the Clone Wars TV show, which was pretty cool. But the movie itself, I'm only doing a C tier, at least for now. All right, let's go ahead and jump to the standalone, starting with Solo. Solo, you know, controversial take. I am going to move things around a little bit. I am going to move Solo away. I'm going to bump Attack of the Clones up to B tier. Just thinking it should be kind of an even bell curve. I'm going to put Solo in a C tier, which might be higher than some people think it deserves. I really don't think this was the worst movie, but coming off the back of The Last Jedi, I think so many people were disappointed with The Last Jedi that they chose not to watch Solo. Originally, I was not planning to watch Solo, but I found myself on an international flight and they had Solo, and I was like, I might as well. I'm not paying for it. And so I ended up watching it. And it was, I mean, it could have been a nice sci-fi movie that wasn't Star Wars. The real big problems, in my opinion, were the droid L337 or something, LE37. The activist droid was just the worst. And then Lando's character, I didn't like. I liked Billy D. Williams' Lando a lot more than I liked Don Glover's. Though I do really enjoy him in Community. Yeah, so there's Solo. Moving along to Rogue One. We're going to go ahead and give Rogue One an A tier listing. I think that this is, without a doubt, the best movie that Star Wars Disney has put out. Just a fun sci-fi story. It filled in some of the background for Episode 4, which was kind of cool. Kind of nice seeing how things got to where they were. A little bit of canon stuff that didn't seem to fit that well, but that it wasn't like just all Jedi and stuff. It was just like the common person doing what they can. That kind of story I enjoyed. So yeah, Rogue One, solid A movie. All right, moving on to where it all started. A New Hope. We're gonna put A New Hope as our first S tier movie. This movie was utterly fantastic. It was leagues ahead for the time. Like, even in the way that it didn't have opening credits was like revolutionary. A New Hope, which when it was released, it wasn't called A New Hope. It was just called Star Wars. Was brilliant and just a great place to start off this series, which leads immediately into Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, which is my favorite movie, and so that's got to be S tier. The reveal. Oh, spoilers! Darth Vader is Luke's dad. The reveal of Vader as Luke's dad was epic, but also the way it took Luke from being like this farm boy who was whiny, but at the end of the movie he like blew up the Death Star, and then in Episode 5 he like fails a lot. He takes out the AT-AT at the beginning, and yeah, I don't say AT-AT, I say AT-AT. He takes it out at the beginning. He goes to Dagobah, but then he like bails on Yoda. He like forsakes his training, and then he ends up going to Bespin, and Vader defeats him. And at the end of the movie, Han's been captured, Luke's been dehanded, and it's like a low point, but it's such a good movie, which leads to Episode 6, which I first saw at a very young age. I remember the first time I saw this, And for a long time, it was my favorite movie. And so for a long time, I would have said this would have been S tier. But then I grew up and realized that Ewoks are stupid. And I'm going to move it down to A tier still. Um, yeah, it is a good movie, but I don't like Ewoks. I don't think they should have been able to beat the Empire. It should have been Wookiees, which they couldn't do because of budget reasons. But the conclusion was just amazing, where Luke ends up going to confront the Emperor and Darth Vader, and he defeats Darth Vader, and he turns around, and instead of attacking the Emperor, he throws his lightsaber away. And like the subversion of expectations, that, I mean, the Disney guys, they talk about subverted expectations, but they are so bad at it. Like when Disney talks about subverting our expectations, what they mean is like we expect Star Wars to be fun and they subvert that and make Star Wars stupid and terrible. But Luke Skywalker confronting Vader, defeating Vader, then allowing himself to be attacked by the Emperor, and Vader turning back to the light is just a cool story. Though I will say it's a little bit weird that like Luke had no part to play in like defeating the Emperor. Like if Luke would have totally failed, like if he just would have went to see the Emperor and then, you know, turned to the dark side, that the rebels still would have blown up the Forest Moon and Lando and Wedge would have taken down the Death Star and Luke would have just died with them. Like, you know, it is what it is, but I love this movie. Moving along to Episode 7, The Force Awakens. And this is not a bell curve. I think I'm going to need to do some changes. We're going to hold on just a second before I put The Force Awakens in. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to move this up here. And I'm going to go ahead and move this down here. Little bell curve. It should be, the S's should have the least, the A's, the D's should have the least. The A's and the B's and the C's, or the A's and the C's should have the middle, and then B should be like it should be a bell curve. But anyway, what was I saying? Force Awakens. I'm gonna say, when I first saw it, I thought B tier. It was good. I thought it was better than Revenge of the Sith, and I'm gonna set it there for now. I thought it was better than Revenge of the Sith and Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. But then retroactively, I was just excited to be seeing Star Wars, and the cinematography, the music, the costuming, like all of the aesthetic things were so great about the movie. But then in the weeks following, as I started to think back about it, I would say it moved from B tier down to down to C tier, because it had some flaws, and then I actually didn't like it very much after that, because of subsequent movies. Okay, next movie we're going to go to, we're going to skip around a little bit. We're going to do The Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9. I would put this as a D tier movie. I think this movie would have been much worse if Rian Johnson would have directed it. I think that when they brought J.J. Abrams back, that he was in a horrible, horrible position in regards to the story, and he did the best that he could possibly do with it, and it ended up being better than I expected, but still I'm putting it in the D tier because it just wasn't a good movie. One thing I will say, when I was in the theater, something that I was a little bit delighted about, a little bit happy about, was very early on in the movie, there was an alien. I can't remember what this thing is called, but he was like talking to Finn and Poe, and they're like, "How can we repay you?" And he says, "Win the war." And I leaned over to my friend sitting next to me in the theater, and I was like, that was Mark Hamill. And then when the credits came, I waited, and sure enough, that was Mark Hamill, because his voice is so distinct. I loved Avatar: The Last Airbender, where he played Fire Lord Ozai, and then Joker, of course, for years. He's also in a fun show called Knights Fall. I just think the Knights Templar are a fun thing. I like medieval stories too. But I recognize Mark Hamill's voice, and he was that alien. Ended up getting decapitated. That's too bad. Mark Hamill died in 2 consecutive Star Wars movies. Anyway, I'm putting this in the D tier. Moving along, we're going to go to Ewoks: The Battle for Endor, and this movie, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and have to put it in the D tier. There were some interesting elements of this movie. If you haven't seen it, it's not good. That is why it is in D tier. That is why it is where it is. But there was a family that crash landed on Endor. This is the first of 2 Ewok movies, and as such, the mom and the dad passed away, I believe. Like, it's been a long time since I've seen this. And then a probably 5-year-old girl and like 10, 11-year-old boy ended up teaming up with Ewoks to take down, I think, essentially space pirates. And this is where blurgs were introduced. If you like The Mandalorian, the thing that he and what's the guy's name, Queel, the Ugnaught Queel and Din Djarin ride the blurgs. This is where they were introduced, so that is a holdover. At some point in time, I am planning on making a video called "Make the Ewok Movies Canon," but I have to sit through them again and actually figure out the reasons why they are worthy of canon, because, yeah. Speaking of which, Caravan of Courage, the second Ewok movie, wait, hold on. Do I have these out of order? I can't remember. These things are so stinking small on my computer. Can I zoom in there? Okay, so this, an Ewok Adventure, this was the first one, and this was the second one. I don't know. These were both terrible. This little thing, this guy right here, if I can't zoom in anymore, that's the 11-year-old, that's the 5-year-old, and like this little guy right here is just a horrible little creature. But anyway, they're both bad. They are both bad, but gotta zoom out. But they are better than The Last Jedi. And hold on a sec. I'm having some problems here. I don't want that up there. Okay, give me a second. I have to rearrange these quickly to properly show how I feel about these movies. So we're going to go ahead and put that up there, put that up there. I'm going to put Rogue One, A tier, A tier, A tier. We're going to go ahead and... no, well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take Rogue One, put S. No, we will keep that. We will keep Rogue One as A tier. Bring that back down. Then we're going to Clone Wars. Going to go up here. We'll put, Force Awakens up here. Yep. There we go. And then Solo Star Wars Story. We're going to move that up. We're going to go ahead and put this in B tier. There we go. Put the Ewok movie B tier. B tier. We're going to change this S. We're going to change... yeah, leave that A. We're going to call this C tier. And then this is F minus tier is The Last Jedi. The worst movie. You know what? Boom. No. Boom. The worst movie and abomination of film, The Last Jedi, is utterly horrible. The music was good. The cinematography was good. I'd even say the acting was fairly good. Particularly, I think that Kelly Marie Tran, who played the character of Rose Tico, did an excellent job as an actor trying to bring to life an utterly horrible character. But this movie was just so bad. I actually know a guy that told me this is his favorite Star Wars movie. And when he said that, and I still think about this was a few years ago. When he said that, I made a mental note. I will never trust his recommendation for a movie. If this guy, and I like the guy, he's a friend of mine. If this guy recommends a movie to me to watch, my plan is to not watch that movie. You know what? 2 minuses isn't enough. 5 minuses. F minus, 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 minus. This movie is just horrible in the writing. And I truly hope that one day, rather if Disney ever, stops being horrible, or if they sell Star Wars to some other company or whatever, I truly hope that this movie is made non-canon in the most disrespectful way possible, of one of the good characters waking up and telling all of the other people they had this ridiculous dream, and everybody saying it was the worst, stupidest dream they could ever have. Anyway, that's my opinion. S tier got a little bit bigger. The original trilogy, 4, 5, and 6, as well as Episode 3. A tier, we're looking at Episode 1, Rogue One, Episode 2, Clone Wars movie, and Solo. C tier is... Wait, hold on. That's a C. That's a D. That's a C. We don't need a B tier. C tier is Episode 9, the 2 Ewok movies, The Battle for Endor and Caravan of Courage, and The Force Awakens. Nothing in D tier, and all the way in F minus, 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 minus tier is The Last Jedi. If you disagree, please let me know why. I will be hard-pressed to give much ground on saying that Empire Strikes Back is not the best, or that The Last Jedi is not the worst, but it is a subjective opinion. Other than that, if you'd like to support my stuff on Patreon, check in the link in the description below. If you would like to recommend ideas for what-if stories, like I said early on, I do what-if stories, such as what if Cloud City had a disco club. That one is not very well liked. They're one of my most liked videos. What if a giant chunk of Alderaan hit the Death Star? Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and all that garbage.